This episode is sponsored by Flapjackery. Flapjackery is where the humble oak meets indulgence. From its bakery on the edge of Dartmoor in West Devon, it crafts uniquely British artisan luxury flapjacks using only the finest ingredients, with flavours ranging from classic to inventive combinations like salted caramel brownie and apple and blackcurrant. Each bite is a decadent treat, and they are all gluten-free.
Now on to the interview of the episode. We've got Salford Harrier, who won the famous Tameside 5k. He has PBs of 1 minute 49 for 800 metres, 3 minutes 40.35 for 1500 metres, 3 minutes 58.64 for the mile, 13.53 for 5k, 29.39 for 10k, and 69.37 for the half marathon. That's quite an old one, I'm guessing.
Thanks. Well back now.
Please welcome to the podcast, Harry Wakefield. Welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll start off as we usually do. So I was looking on your Power of 10 and it looks like you came into running quite late actually, 2019. So how was it you got into running?
Yeah, I mean I was definitely late to the party because I think I was about 29 by the time I started. I was like previously a cyclist for about four-ish years, but like a hobby cyclist mainly.
Yeah.
And then I think I can actually remember my first proper run because it was like back in 2018 on Christmas Day because I forgot my bike and I was like back home for Christmas and just like losing my mind because I wasn't like exercising. So I just got some like old Converse out of like my mum's like shoe basket and just like went for a jog. And like instantly loved it and just thought, why have I been on a bike like all this time? It's so much easier to be running and not like cleaning your bike. But yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And then I think just like everyone, I was just kind of got the bug a bit and started running like the odd half. Like I think Wilmslow was like my first half in 2019, but I wasn't taking it too seriously.
Yeah. Can you remember how you did in that?
Wilmslow,
yeah.
I think I've got a photo of it somewhere because I look very new to running in that. Like I've got like wired headphones like everywhere. I've got like holding my phone in my hand, I'm, like white and like frothing at the mouth at the end. But like I think I did it in 80 minutes, somewhere around there, or maybe 82 minutes. But like I loved it. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember I had Strava on, and you know how you get like the electronic notification of like first K, like 40 whatever, and it happening like 21 times, thinking like, oh, this is actually a long way. But yeah, that was the first one, and then from there, I guess I was still a cyclist, but I just kind of would run every now and then.
Yeah, and then you obviously got into it a little bit more seriously, joining Highgate Harriers. So tell us a bit about that, and then making the eventual step up to Salford.
Yeah, so yeah, Highgate was, so I moved down to, initially I was based up in Manchester when I first kind of got into running, and then I moved law firms about, I think it was 2019-ish, and at that firm there was like a runner called Alex Petra, who's quite prominent I guess in the athletics community. He's like a marathoner now. And I think we just got talking, and I was like, kind of getting into it, not really realising like he was a bit of a monster, to be honest. And we'd like go on like these lunchtime runs, and then I'd realise like, okay, there's levels to this. I think because I was based down like south of the river in London, the closest club to me was Herne Hill, where like they had Tooting Beck as like their track. So I think I said to him like, I think I might join this club because I'm really getting into it. And like he completely was like, nah, no chance joining Highgate, even though it was like north of the river and like a proper faff to get to. And yeah, that was kind of the introduction. But because it was like nearing when the pandemic hit, I didn't actually have that much interaction with the club. I think I did like 3 or 4 training sessions, and then we all had to like stay in our homes and just do the lockdown thing. But I was there for like, I think about a year, 18 months, but returned up north where my girlfriend was at the time in Horwich, and it got to the point where like I just wasn't really like doing much with the club, and I left thinking I actually wasn't going to go into club running. I was just going to like just do the kind of running that I like, which was what I liked at the time, which was like trail running up near Rivington, things like that. But then I came across two guys, like local guys, in a guy called Mike Caton and Carl Darcy. It was when we could still train in like a bubble. I don't know if we were bending the rules a little bit, but like
it was 6, wasn't it?
Yeah.
6 people or something.
But it was like with those two, we would do like my first proper like interval sessions. They kind of took me under their wing a little bit. They're like my running dads for a period of time, and then they weren't actually that pushy about it. But I didn't have a club at the time, and as I said, I was just going to kind of do my own thing, and I had like a preference for the trails. But I think they kind of convinced me that maybe get back into club running and join Salford. So they're kind of responsible for that. Those two.
Nice. And what is it about Salford that attracted you? Really, what do you enjoy about that now?
Well, actually, when I spoke to Mike about it, he said, well, there's basically two clubs that you can join, in his opinion, which was like Sale was one, where he kind of described, I can't remember him using his name exactly, but he mentioned, I think, Norman Poole and like the likes of like Nigel Martin, and the fact that they had kind of like this middle distance like stable. And then he would talk about like the history of Salford, and he was just saying they both like great clubs but do different things. And at the time I had no interest in middle distance, so I didn't even know what middle distance meant, to be honest. And then I think I just went to Salford because I knew two guys there, and it wouldn't be like just me turning up to a club and being like, hey. So yeah, Mike kind of sold it to me, and then I think my first experience of Salford was like at a Northern 12 stage at Birkenhead. I don't know if you might have been there.
No, I don't think so.
It was when Leeds won, and they had like 3 Olympians in their team. Like Phil Sessman was in it, Simon Meslek was in it, someone else. I think David Malarkey was in it, and I kind of just showed up and like met everyone for the first time, and it was just like a really good day, like a really fun day. We did really well, came second, and everyone just seemed like really sound. So I think that's kind of when I was like fully in to Salford, and I haven't really turned back since.
Yeah. And did you sort of start on the road then and then transition to the middle distance? Yeah,
I didn't really know there was any other thing other than road running, to be honest. I was so like green, and still am to a certain extent, and that I just all I knew was just jogging, and then these road relays, and then the occasional like 5k and park run and that kind of stuff. So that was my experience. And when I was at Highgate, the coach there was like really keen that I just like hit the 5k kind of training, or the kind of 5k, so he'd have me do like podium here and like a mid-Cheshire. And I think all of the idea, because Highgate was so focused on the road relays, and obviously like a really successful road relay club, I think I was kind of being reared almost as like a short leg guy, so that was all I would do. So when I joined Salford, that was all I kind of knew, to be honest with you.
So was that then a surprise for you to find that you were like just seemed to be naturally geared towards them shorter distances, do you think?
Yeah, I mean that came so much later. That was like I think it was mid 2023. I kind of got into that, but that wasn't really me looking for it. It was more when I got involved with like the training setup, and I'd go to like Cleveley's, where like Duncan would be running the sessions, and then obviously Ian Grimes, who's my coach now, he would be doing it too. And I think it was him that kind of spotted maybe how I was like running. I think he mentioned it was how I was running 400s that he thought you're probably more suited to the track than you are 5k.
And is enjoy the right word for middle distance? I love
it. I don't think like it depends. It really depends. Like there's certain elements of middle distance that I love. I can't say I've ever really enjoyed an 800 meters, but like I think you've got to be a certain type. But I think in a way it all makes sense. Like now that I've kind of come to it, because like when I was riding my bike, I wasn't like that competitive, but like basically all of the rides would be like me just like riding steady or tempo, and then when it got to like the foot of a hill, there'd be like this little voice that would be like, send it, like just like go. And it would always be like 4-minute efforts or like 5-minute efforts, so it roughly translates to the kind of time that you take when you're doing these like 1500s or miles or 3Ks. So I think without actually knowing, I was kind of doing that stimulus years before I got put on the track by Ian.
Yeah. And on this podcast, we've probably not spoke that much about middle distance, have we really? I mean, we've had Jake Whiteman on really.
He knows a lot more about that than I
do. Reasonably knowledgeable, wasn't he? Came across that way anyway. Talk to us something more about roads and that. So, how would you convince someone to do a bit more middle distance running over perhaps longer distances, or would you?
Yeah, well, I get accused of trying to corrupt people these road runners at Salford, because I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think they benefit each other, in fact, because I was talking about this with Bob Merrill, who's this kind of legendary Salford coach, and this was yesterday after the half, and he was saying that his training methodology or coaching methodology was all about just working the gears, and that if you had the ability to run a quick 200 or 400 meters and do that kind of speed play on the track, then it would translate quite well into the longer distances, even the marathon. And I know nothing about marathons, I know you know a lot, and I've never run one. But you can look at these great marathoners like Kipchoge, for instance, what they built from and what their genesis was. It was all on the track, and its ability and cadence and all sorts. And I do think now, particularly with some of the Salford guys that you see just sticking quite heavily with the 5Ks and the 10Ks and things, that they really benefit from just dropping down the distances and hitting that different stimulus. And it can give you so much. It could give you a kick at the end of a 5K. Yeah. It could just teach you how to tolerate a different kind of pain. It could teach you how to shuttle lactic, because that's all really middle distance is. It's just living in lactic. And there's a guy at Salford now, Joe Mulhall, that you might know. And he's been hitting 5Ks the last couple of years and doing well. But he's quite clearly, when you look at him, an 800 guy. He's a powerful runner, and he loves it. And it's quite nice just to see him the last year. I think this year too, he's really getting a taste for it and executing his sessions and kind of targeting the 800 as his distance throughout summer, whilst not neglecting the 5K and the other things he likes to do.
Yeah.
But similarly, if you're a 5K guy, it's that kind of speed endurance that's going to help you out with middle distance too, so you can kind of go both ways.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it? It's not so. Obviously, I came to running really late, later than you, so I just went straight to the longer distances because that's what I'm most comfortable with.
Yeah.
And whenever I do track sessions now, it just feels hard and inevitably get myself injured. But,
they are hard to execute as well, because how hard are you supposed to go? I remember my first ones, I'd ask Ian, what should I be doing here? And he'd be like, oh, just go hard. So I would just go flat out. And he'd be like, well, I didn't quite mean that. But it's hard to kind of gauge the effort, and you don't really know what your body's capable of doing and then recovering from until you kind of hit that wall and run through it. So I think it's quite daunting for a lot of people. But as on marathons, you're not seeing me do a marathon, because that's a completely different quality of pain, isn't it, to middle distance.
Yeah, I remember you putting it in our group when all the people have been carried over the finish line. You said, why are you going to do this?
I'm a sicko, so I watched these things, and I had London Marathon on the TV, and then I had Manchester Marathon on the laptop, and I just saw it was zombie apocalypse, because obviously it was so warm. And then at the end of Manchester, they've got that little canvas thing where they put it under someone and just
firing them off
like a hammock, just carrying through the line. I'm you don't see that on track all the time anyway. But yeah, it's a different breed.
Maybe one day.
Essentially.
Sure, we'll come to that. Callum, I think you've got some questions as well.
Cheers, Sean. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you.
So, as you mentioned before, you're coached by one of our previous guests, Ian Grime. Can you tell us a little bit about this setup and how much Ian's helped you with that rapid progression over the recent years?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got to be careful talking about Ian because we're quite emotionless around each other. We're just very not transactional, but we just kind of just get on with it. But I met him in 2023, so a couple of years ago. I'd spent like 8 months out in Austria, not really racing or doing anything. It was just on like a little break from work, doing bits of work but not much. And I came back to Manchester and to Cleveland's, and I think, as I mentioned, like he was just seeing me do the first few sessions, and I think spotted that I might have a track season, or I should maybe give a track season a go. So he kind of just suggested it, like try 3K and see where you're at. And I did. It was at Stretford. It didn't go very well because I had no idea how fast I was supposed to go, so I basically left way too much in the tank and had like 800 metres to go, realising I've got so much, and I just left it way too late. And I remember like talking to him afterwards and being like, him being like, you can do this, and like he showed a little bit of faith, and I think at that point just we agreed that we'll try and go all in on track. But he's had like a completely transformative effect on my running, because I think even if you look just at the numbers, which there's obviously a lot more to it than the numbers, but I think I basically plateaued a little bit before I met him, and I was just hitting these 5Ks and becoming like a little bit one-dimensional, really struggling to move the needle, and just hitting like 14:30 for the 5K over and over and over again, and trying different things. And I was self-coached and obviously knew next to nothing, so that's probably why I plateaued. But immediately with him, of course I was going to go a little bit quicker, so I was running these distances for the first time. But even at the end of that first track season, we tried another 5K, and it knocked like 16 seconds off, not even training for the 5K, just doing this middle distance stuff and following his program. And like since then it was just like, okay, you call the shots. And it's quite difficult for me because I'm a bit of a control freak, and like have not a problem with authority, but like I don't just immediately go like, yeah, you do it, particularly with something that I love, like in running. But like as soon as I saw like that it was working and I could feel just better and more kind of powerful as a runner, I was like, yeah, it's just, you just call the shots, and I'll just follow. But yeah, he's a very good coach.
So what are the training groups like at Salford? So training with Evan Grime, and that must be great fun for him. He was with you on the Tameside 5K as well.
Yeah, he was pacing that.
Yeah.
Paced the 3K for that.
Yeah.
The training groups are great. We've got a few, haven't we, at Salford? So like on Tuesdays you've got a group like predominantly like marathon, like long distance group at Sports City.
Yeah, and potentially slightly older athletes as well, a mix of.
There's some young guys in there as well. I see it more as like a long distance kind of stable.
I think the athlete you mentioned earlier, Joey, sort of moved over to Cleveland, though. I think
he plays both sides. Yeah. Like he's a bit of both. Yeah. So yeah, you got one at Sports City. It was actually like annoyingly close to my flat, so it would be like the most ideal for me. But then at Cleveland's, it's generally, it depends on what time of year, but you have the young groups, like the young juniors, and then like the slightly older juniors, and then just the seniors who are kind of like trying to hit like that sharp end kind of 5K stuff. And it's always been like a really big group. Like obviously people kind of come and go, but like the best thing about it is seeing the young guys just slowly kind of making their way to the front of the train, and like not just having the confidence, but obviously the development as well, and the ability to do that. And it's not just, I mean, Evan is someone I've trained with like 2 years now, because he's like the wonder boy, right? Like, and he's just done, his progression has just been absolutely mad with like all of these British records and things. And for a while it was just me and him doing like the pure middle distance stuff, like 800s and 1500 sessions. But we've got like a bigger group now. We've got like a young lad, Jack Marwood, joined about a year or 18 months ago from Warrington, and he's an unbelievable talent, like Evan, but a slightly different athlete in terms of like his versatility. He's more like he's going to be doing an 800 soon, but more like 1500 to 5K, whereas like Evan's just this thoroughbred 800, 15 guy. So everyone's kind of got their own little thing that they can bring to the sessions, and it's usually Jack, Evan and I in like a little group, but then you've got loads of other like juniors like Jamie Barber, like the older guys like Sam Hopkins when they're back from university. There's like the train has got a lot bigger, and like the workload's shared like a lot more in like the last couple of years, and yeah, it's a really good group to be part of.
So you find that if regardless of what people are training for, whether that be 800, 1500 metres, they can still go in that same group, and that
Pretty
session
much,
is near
yeah.
enough tailored around the full middle distance.
Yeah, I mean, so it kind of helps that we're all coached by Ian primarily, so we roughly have the same like racing schedule, so we want to hit certain sessions at certain times. But yeah, it depends. Everyone's got their strong suit. There's some sessions that just end you, like they're designed just to like beat you up, and it doesn't really matter if you're working with anyone or have a train. It's just like you got to hit this and hit lactic, run through it, and kind of we all just share in the suffering, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's a little. I think what Ian tends to do now is at this time of year where you have this slight division in terms of racing, where you've got guys doing 800s and 1500s and middle distance, but then like the guys who are targeting 3Ks, 5Ks and still kind of on the road, there's two sessions that go on at the same time. So there is a little bit of everything. It's almost like you have a menu that you can choose from and a group that you can jump into.
That's good.
And it works really well. Good.
So I think this is a first. I think we've got an anonymous question.
Oh no!
So it's nothing bad. So this person messaged in, and I'm trying not to say he or she, but they said that your running form is like unreal. You just glide. You look so good. Can you suggest for someone to improve running form, or what would you suggest? Sorry, and would like drills or exercise help?
Oh no, I'm going to disappoint here. I've got no idea. I don't quite believe it, because I've got another club mate who says I look like a marauding giraffe when I run. So it's like, I'm not sure if I have got good form or not. But like, I don't. Yeah, some of my training partners are going to laugh at that, because like I don't know how to do drills really. Like I turn up at Cleveland's and like all of the juniors who I think have got like impeccable form, they just do they're in like a little line doing their drills, and I'm kind of like just basically like 2 steps behind them copying them. Like, but I just look like Mr. Bean when I do it. I just don't know what I'm doing at all. I know that I've just got to like try and loosen up all of the muscles before I just inevitably like tear them during the session. But like, I really don't. I don't know. I think what I've noticed in recent years is that when I hit lactic at the end of a race, I lose my core and I just lean back so far, which just looking at it, like the optics of it, I would assume slows you down, because you're becoming not necessarily less aero, but like you're just not cutting, maybe aero, you're just not cutting through the air. And so something that I've tried to work on is just like hit my core a little bit more, like outside of running, and just so that I can maybe try and hold the position and to keep form when your legs are telling you like you don't want to be running right now. But yeah, so I don't have any tips, because I don't know if I do have good form.
You're going to be so disappointed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, anonymous.
So you mentioned about training on a Tuesday at Cleveland. So what would a typical training week look like as a whole, including like strength and cross training?
Yeah, it does depend on the time of year, but I think the way that Ian normally does it is that it's like a 3 session week, where like Tuesday would be your like traditional track night where it's kind of hitting like VO2. It does depend on the time of year. So like now, like in summer and approaching summer, we're usually spiked up and we're hitting like a kind of a middle distance like session. But like in winter, it's more like volume based and like thresholdy. But it would always be at a track at like Cleveland's or elsewhere. And then, yeah, just recovering, obviously on Monday and on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, sometimes I like tempo with you guys at Green Gate. Albeit I don't live as close now, which is why I haven't been there. It's not you, it's like it's just convenience. But it would be like a tempo, and then literally Ian would just text me a number, and that would be the amount of miles that I do there. And it could be a steady or like it's quite scary when he tells me to do a steady on a Thursday, because then I know the Saturday session is going to be horrible, because he's basically trying to preserve your legs.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays nowadays are like the pure middle distance sessions. So yeah, it's usually a free session week, and the days between just trying to focus on recovery. And then Sundays are like, you probably think my long runs are pathetic. I do like 10 miles, like max. Like by then I'm kind of beat up by the Saturday, the day before. So I just get enough, maybe like an hour 10, and then just call it for the week.
Is your long run like just easy pace as well, just time on feet?
It used to be like super easy,
yeah.
and all of like my easy runs as well. But then I noticed I basically got injured last year in October, because I was just training like an idiot, and I had like 2.5 months off. But in that time, I kind of got back on the bike and just outside bike, like, and a bit of indoor training as well. But at the end of that, I'd managed to get myself like really super aerobically fit, and at first I thought like all my like kit was like broken and my heart rate monitor wasn't working, but I think it was just that different kind of stimulus and having slightly longer days at slightly elevated heart rate, like in true zone 2, that I just got this base that I've never really had before. And then when I came back to running, I noticed that my heart rate was so low, like into zone 1 doing my old easy pace, that I was like, it's kind of probably bordering on junk mileage, and that I'm not going to get any benefit on it from it, because I was like under, for me, like 120 beats per minute. I could almost walk and have that. So I started quickening up the easy runs, which got like a lot of flack from my mates who were like, you think you're fitter than you are, like you think you're Phil Sessman and all that. And I'm like, I genuinely don't. I'm just looking at my heart rate and trying to stick it in like low zone 2. So like all of my easy runs have got a little bit quicker now, but it's not because I think I'm like this or that. It's literally I'm just trying to get some aerobic benefit from it, so I just keep it in the zone 2.
Cool. So you recently broke a huge barrier by running inside 4 minutes for the mile, which was 3:58.42 at the Bannister Mile. How did you feel? How did that feel? And was that the goal for you that you've been working towards?
Yeah, it felt good, because I'd come quite close last year, but I had some pretty like devastating before, like devastatingly close. Like almost when you're near it, you'd almost prefer not to be and be under that barrier. But like for whatever reason, I try not to get like too like focused on milestones and like these little thresholds, because they are all just like numbers at the end of the day, and you're just trying to run as fast as you can. But because of like the historical significance of it, you're thinking like, I kind of do want to break it, not because like people can say you're like a sub 4 guy, but just because it was there. And I'd had some like as I say, some shockers where like I had it with like 50 meters to go, and then suddenly just got hit by the lactic sniper and had like
lactic sniper.
Just had nothing, like I couldn't move my arms or my legs, and like it was brutal. But then I'd actually done that. I was in Oxford at the Bannister Miles, and I'd done it the year before and had a similar experience to what I've just described, and just went for it. No one went with me and failed, and like went from first to like 8th or something in the space of 50 meters. So I had a little bit of a monkey on my back in that. I was like, I'm not sure I'm a miler. Like there's something different about it as a distance, where I think people think it's like a 1500 with just a little bit added on, but it doesn't feel like that. That extra 109 meters is like a really long way. So when I did it, I didn't actually, I think a big part of my brain knew that I'd done it, because I could see the clock in my like peripheral vision. But then weirdly, the way the brain works, it was like something was telling me I hadn't. So I had like this competing thing, and there's like a stream of it where like I'm like prowling around the finish line saying like, have I got it? And there's like some BMC guys that I like knew, a guy called Phil Boswell, who's like a really sound guy and photographer, and I think you've got it, and he got like, scurried off to go see the computers, and then he kind of gave me the thumbs up, and it was like a nice moment, because I'm never going to do it again. I'm never going to break 4 for for the first time, and to be honest, I'm not in a rush to do another mile. It's not a pleasant distance to run, but it was definitely this year. It was like, I didn't even tell Ian about it, but like I knew that if I didn't do it then, I had like 3 races, like one in Belfast, one in Stirling, and there was like one in Prague or somewhere that I would have gone to it had I not have done it, and it would have just been this like relentless pursuit for sub 4, which I'm glad I got out of the way quickly, because it would have just completely consumed me, I think.
So how did you prep for that mile then? So can you talk us through like the rate, like how you maybe chunked the race up, or how you'd actually attack it?
Well, I completely, try not to swear, messed up at the start. I've got like a really slow start. Like for whatever reason, when the gun goes, like people just suddenly appear in front. The competitors just appear in front of me, and I'm like, how did they get there? So I'm just so slow to react to the gun that immediately I was like at the back, and I could just see the guys who I knew had gone sub 4 before, and who I knew I needed to be roughly around. They were just kind of going off into the distance. So I kind of just had to like get out, let everyone go past me, get unboxed, and then slowly make my way up. But immediately knew, like, internal monologue saying like, you've messed it up already, mate. Like, come on, like you've taken a train down, you've got two nights booked in your hotel, you've waited, you've visualised it, you've watched like mile tapes on YouTube, you've watched Bucks all day, like you're getting in the zone, and like literally when the gun goes, you just didn't react, you just stood there. But it got a lot better, and it was like a very windy day, not an ideal day for it, but almost just them going away allowed me just to kind of work my way up. And I don't actually have much of a memory other than like every now and then trying to steal like a glance when I went around the clock just to see where you're at, because obviously you're looking for like a 59 or a 58, and to give yourself a bit of a buffer, because you know that in that final 109 metres that you're not going to be feeling good, and like that core thing's going to happen where I'm going to like look like a scarecrow again, and just like. But I got very lucky because I ran. It got won by a guy called Joe Wakefield, who's just like an unbelievable runner, and it was pretty clear that he was going to win that race, and all like the comms was about like what's Joe going to do, and I think we'd all accepted that he was going to probably take it out. But then there were like 3 other guys that had gone under 4 before that I kind of knew of, and I thought like if I'm around them, and some of them are quite big men, which is good for me because I don't often get like a draft. Usually it's like these kids that I'm running against who are like 5'5", and I'm just sticking out like a sore thumb. But there were some big men in there, and I thought if I can just get in your draft for a little bit, then that might kind of save that energy that would like pay dividends in that final stretch. And that kind of happened. But there was a guy called Jacob Can who's just like another monster who I kind of just worked with him. I kind of just stayed on his shoulder, and he was just so smooth in how he was just picking people off that I could kind of switch off, which I think is why I don't have that much of a memory of it. And then, just crossed the line and saw that, as I say, that big part of my brain saw the number, and I was like, you've got it. And then suddenly I started like doubting everything and just panicking.
Did you finish 3rd in that race?
Yeah.
So we know that you've also broke 14 minutes on the road for 5k at Armagh, getting 13:53, placing your 10th overall. And we've had quite a few guests come on saying that they've had the Armagh experience. Yeah. What was your experience like?
Oh, it was so fun. Like it was like a little mission, like taking a little flight out there, and like all for like 15 odd minutes of work. You think the whole time you're thinking like this is a long way to go to be running like around in circles, but the organisers are just so good. Like they really take care of like their athletes, and not just like elite athletes, like everyone. They get put in a hotel, and if you can't get in a hotel, they put you up somewhere else. They give you like a little stipend, like a little bit of food money and stuff, and it's a lot of waiting around because you need to be there at certain times to get your numbers and stuff. And then the race itself is like, I can't remember when it is, like 8:30.
It's 8:30 at night.
Yeah,
it's very late.
And it was so cold. Like it was unbelievable, because it's like Northern Ireland. Like at that time of year, I don't think the conditions are ever. I think they were much worse the year before, but I just remember like walking in the day and like walking up to the cathedral as my shakeout and thinking like, if it's cold now, it's going to be like Baltic like later. but there's a buzz because you just got all of these athletes that I don't know that many of them, because a lot of them are like university students and stuff, and there were no other Salford guys there, and I really hope we can get like a little bit of a Salford group there next year, because you can like dorm together and just chill and eat together and stuff. But everyone's like aware that it's a super fast race. Like you usually get good times there, and people PB there, and you get this great atmosphere on that little closed circuit. But it's just a lot of waiting around, and then suddenly like all those smiles become like quite nervous energy, and people are like pacing around this hotel room. I want it to start, but yeah, it went really well. Other than the fact that it was just freezing, and like I went under 14, but like that athletic achievement was kind of undermined by the fact that I had to get like a pensioner to untie my shoes afterwards, because my hands were like useless to me, and then she had to like tie the shoelaces with my like cool down shoes, and I was just saying, I'm so sorry, like I really can't move anything. But it was good. It was just like a bit of a mad weekend. Like it was Valentine's Day the day after. I was seeing someone at the time, and I was just useless, because like you're just travelling, you get the high of a race, you sleep like 2 hours, you get back on the flight, and then you got to go on like a Valentine's dinner, and I was just like, this is not what I want to do right now. But it was a good weekend.
Oh, good about the weekend anyway.
Oh yeah.
So that's all my questions. I'll go pass you over to Dave.
Thank you, Callum. Welcome, Harry.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, so I've got a list of questions in front of me, but as I've been reading for everybody's questions, I've noticed there's not a question about the Tameside 5K. So I just want to start by asking you about that. What made you decide to do the race, and how did you find it?
Yeah, so it was after, I think it was a week after Armagh, and I didn't realise it. I think Ian pointed it out to me that I was like 4 seconds off like the British V35 record for the road, 5k on the road, and I thought, there was time there, because I finished really strong in the race at Armagh. Like I think it was like a final k of like 2:39, which seemed to suggest there's like more in there, albeit it's like a fast, I don't want to say short course and slam to the owners. It's a fast course, and notoriously like everyone just takes huge chunks off. But we thought, okay, well maybe we'll go again and just see if we can like break that record. And there were loads of like Salford guys there, and if I wasn't going to race it, I was going to watch it, because I live in like Piccadilly East, which isn't too far from Tameside. But yeah, we thought we'd give it a go, and yeah, Evan paced it for 3k. He went off his watch, which the younger lads do quite a lot, but obviously he like combed it out. So I kind of realised early on, and it wasn't his fault at all, because it was how fast my legs were moving, if anything, that I wasn't going to get that time, because it's like 13:49. It's like a bit fast, like, and I just wasn't going at that. But it was a bit of a sufferfest, to be honest, because I was on my own, but then also I think just not quite right. But I loved the course, because like that section where you're near the clubhouse and it's like banked, because obviously it's a bike, so it was like every time in my head I was like, wee, like you can get that line and then like slingshot out. I didn't enjoy it on the last lap, because like the legs just didn't want to go anymore. But I thought it was a really good event, and like it was nice afterwards, because like at these races you don't get that many of your club mates there, and we all went into the clubhouse afterwards and had like tinnies and stuff, and like comparing notes and things, and some guys are like really good races, and yeah, it was a really good event, I thought.
Good. Okay. Right, on to the questions in front of me then. So we understand you have a busy profession and career, so how do you manage your training around your job?
Not very well, to be honest. Historically, terribly, but I'm getting a little bit better at it. So I work as a lawyer in the city, and the hours used to be a lot more, almost predictably unpredictable, if that makes sense, in that you never really knew when you could like slip away for a run, and you couldn't get into a rhythm, because either you had like an all-nighter, or just you hadn't had enough sleep, so like running at 6 a.m. just wasn't going to happen. But I'm in a new area of law now, which allows for a bit of routine, and just means that like I can never have that conversation with myself in the morning where it's like, do I really want to go out? It's like you have to take the opportunity to go out in the morning, just in case work kind of gets away with you and you can't do it. So at the very least, you get to have like a single, like 50 minutes jogging in the morning. But yeah, I'm not great at it, and I'm always basically on call and trying to be a little bit better at not looking at my emails a lot and just managing stress, because realise that whilst you can kind of live with stress, it is, I think they call it the invisible killer for a reason, is that you can kind of just completely disregard it and find out later that, you know, you shouldn't be combining it with the physical stress of training hard. If you're recognising that work's getting on top of you, then maybe take a little bit of a step back. So I'm trying to get a little bit better at that, but yeah, it takes a little bit of time, and get reminded by family and friends to kind of take it easy a bit.
What's your biggest or most proud moment in running so far, what would you say?
Winning the Tameside.
Yeah, it's the fight. That's the fun. Yeah. It's a difficult one, because I think a lot of runners do this, where like I don't feel like the pride anywhere near as powerfully as I remember like the shockers, like those ones I feel all the time. But I think maybe a good one was like this year Northern Cross, like because it kind of combined like an individually like a good run, but like also team success. And I hadn't won anything with Salford. I had like loads of second places, whether it be like the like Northern Cross Country relays, loads of like 12 stages, less over 6 stage. And I just kind of had it in my head. I was like, are we gonna like win anything like soon? And then yeah, it kind of became like it was an unexpected one, in that I hadn't trained any crossover winter because I got injured, like I said before, and I had like an indoor season, a mini indoor season. So I was training middle distance, and then suddenly realised I've got to do like a 12k cross country race in Tatton Park. So I wasn't like the best prepared for it, but we had a team. Like it felt like we had a bit of a force then. There's like this amazing photo. We've got like 30 of us. So it wasn't just like the 6 to count. Like we had like a bit of an army there, particularly in comparison to like other teams. And like it was one of those where like usually, certainly like middle distance, like you do all the work in training and you tend to just it's almost automatic. Like in the racing, like you kind of get what you put in. It's like where you show off. Whereas with this, I had no idea it was going to be a good day. In fact, I'd kind of said to myself, this is going to be like a bloodbath. Like you've just got to do your best and hopefully count for the team. And then the race just developed in like a weird way where I was like, oh, I'm like in the front pack here, and I'm like running with like Gus McMillan, who's a beast, and like Matt Ramsden and like Richard Allen, and all these guys that I've looked at previously thinking like these are like proper guys, and I was suddenly in that pack and ended up coming like third, but not knowing what was going on with the team thing. And like I got like put in a tent for like some kind of presentation thing, and I was like losing my mind trying to like get like scores. And like I remember there's a guy at Northern Athletics who wasn't happy with me because I kept like trying to get out of the interview. I won't name him because we have history, but like I had like Alex Ediker, who's like a club mate, just pop his head round, and he's got like this big smile on his face saying like we won. And like I was like yes, like it was like the first time I'd won as a team, but then also just felt like the little project that we've got going on at Salford was kind of coming together. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the proudest.
Yeah, good answer, and I think it shows your versatility as well.
No.
Okay, so you've raced in a few teams for Salford since you joined, and there was a race for you where you suffered more than most and had to go to hospital immediately afterwards when we were in the Nationals at Sutton Park. So if you don't mind sharing what happened in this race.
Yeah, it was just a bad day. Like as bad days go, it was not a good one. It was basically what I alluded to before. It was in an old area of law that I was in. I was just working silly hours, like 120 hours in like 6 days, I think, and just 2 hours sleep and not listening to my body. And I think what had happened was that I'd been beasted myself for a long 3-week period, like doing these deals at work and kind of depriving myself of all the stuff I like to do, like running. I think I was like doing like 10-minute shuffles. It was almost like I was trying to maintain a streak, but it was just almost a point of principle that I was getting up after 2 hours sleep, doing a little jog around the building, and then coming back and then going back into work and doing it all, which is just moronic. I don't know why I did it. And And then when we closed this deal at like 4 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday, it just so happened to be National Six Stage that day, and I just thought, almost as like a two fingers up to my work situation, I'd be like, I'm just going to do it, just going to tempo around. And it was probably the most arrogant thing I've done in running, to think I could get away with it. And like, I'd come off of like a good bit of form, because I did like Northern Six Stage and had a really good one there before that, or just when that mad period of work was starting. So I kind of thought, well, if I could do that, I can do this. And I just fundamentally could not do it. And I got going and realised that I was completely off, like not well. And it's a downhill start at certain parts, so it should feel free, but I just couldn't move my legs. And then you're confronted by that hill. I got to the top of the hill, and I think that's when the memory starts to just go. And in very short terms, what happens, I had like a cardiac event right on the finishing straight, where I think it was like just an arrhythmia, or like a series of arrhythmias, where it just cut the lights basically, and ran into, like, you know, that horrible corner at the end, like that everyone hates and struggles to get around. Well, I just like went straight through it and like hit the gate, like hit like my head, got up, and then I'll spare you all the weird stuff, but like it just took me like 2 minutes and like getting on my hands and knees to get to the end, so that Carl Darcy was just like waiting in the pen, just being like, what are you doing? And like no one really knew what had happened, and like even like the medical people were like, oh, he's just had a bad day, because it just looked like, you know how like Johnny Brownlee had it and his brother helped him, it just looked like I just had like sunstroke or something like that. But it turns out it was like this heart thing that had happened, and went to hospital, and they did all the bloods, and something in there, I think it's called troponin, where it's like a protein, or someone's going to correct me here, something that's released into your bloodstream when something bad's happened to your heart. And then it was just a chain reaction of like, turns out like when your heart doesn't work for a very short period of time, all your other organs are like, whoa, like, and it just like set in motion just a series of like health problems. But it actually ushered in quite a lot of change, and it made me realise that I can't be doing that again. So got out of hospital, rehabbed for a period of time, and then got a lot better and fine now. But yeah, bad day. Won't be repeating it. No. I don't recommend it either, to be honest.
Did you just recover from that though? It's not like it doesn't affect you anymore, or?
Oh, they think it was like a one-time thing, in that it was just caused by very high cortisol levels, so like the stress hormone. So I'd basically just done a number on myself, and then combined it with like 6 stages horrible anyway, like never mind with all of that. And I remember like talking to Gary Priestley before, and just saying like, I'm not right here, and he was like, oh yeah, I've had a late night recently. I was like, I know, but I've had them for like 14 days straight.
More than a late night.
And I remember him looking at me going like, oh, and I'm like, yes, fine, I'm going to tempo it, it'll be fine. It was not fine. Like, but yeah, it wouldn't happen again, because like I resigned, I left that area of law, like corporate and private equity, and took a long time, like 8 months, firstly like a couple of months to get healthy again, because there was quite a lot of like, your body just doesn't really work the way it used to when your autonomic system's shot like that. So that period went, and then it was a case of like trying to get fit again, and the fitness actually came back quite quickly. So it's all good now, and if like I'll see the signs if it happens again, and definitely not chance it like last time.
Okay, so it's fair to say you've made a positive impact on the club as a whole, but also directly with your role as team manager. So how did the opportunity to become team manager come about, and how has this been for you so far?
So it seems weird like framing it as an opportunity. Like initially it was done by a guy called Sean Cordell, who's like another club legend. He'd done it for like a long time, and I remember like when I first joined to like that Birkenhead 12 stage, meeting him for the first time, and just like at the end seeing him like on a stump, like just staring on into the distance, and thinking like, what's he thinking about? And I only now realise that it's just like the stress of it, of like trying to get all these men in one place at any given time. And I think he was ready to pass it on, because he'd done like an amazing job. But it kind of created like this vacuum of like, we were looking at each other going like, who's going to do it? No one wants to do it. And so it kind of came down to Carl Darcy, but then he would only do it if I helped him out, which is like the right thing. It's an administrative job really, but it helps to have like a few hands on it. And we kind of like modelled ourselves on like Brian Clough and Peter Taylor. And he was obviously Cloughy, and I would be like Taylor in the background, like just doing all like the teams and like putting names on numbers and stuff. And it worked really well. We went to Wythenshawe and did like 12 stage and came second. But then I think it just came. Carl and I are like quite similar. Like we just kind of clashed a little bit over like team selection and things, and I think at the end we were just like, oh, this is just a pain. And like I think Rively was just like, you just take it on, and then I tried to then pass it on to someone else. I know, as I say, no one really wants it, but like I say that it's actually like a really rewarding job, and it's not. They call it team manager. There's no power. Like you're not really managing people. It's like, isn't it? It's administrative. It's like you put the call out, you say who can do it, and then there's like some softer skills of like just trying to like cajole people, being like, I'll give you this leg if you do this, or like. So there's a little bit of like bargaining going on. But like in fairness, like Carl's actually does a lot now in terms of like putting the call out and encouraging everyone. So he's basically doing it again, just like in a helping hand. But it's fun when it's over. Basically, it's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, I've done the role myself at my club, and it's always the most stressful days are the 2 days leading up to it. Cause
you're going to get drop outs.
You're dreading the email or the phone call.
But it's always the same. It's always the same people. So if you know who they are, like you can kind of prepare yourself and just kind of almost like write them off to begin with anyway, so you don't have your heart broken. But that's my coping mechanism anyway.
And an obvious question, and you may repeat your answer from the cross country, but your proudest moment as a team manager?
Well, so with the cross, I don't actually manage the team, so that's Gary. Gary's like the team secretary, but there's a little bit of like crossover in that, like when the guys are like running road relays, you're like, oh, we should be doing cross as well, because actually as a club, Salford I think have got the potential to go all the way with the cross, because when you think of the names we have, not all of them are at our disposal at the minute, but like you got Joe Stewart, who's like king of the north and like has placed top 5 or top 10 at the nationals so many times. You've got other mountain guys like Chris Richards, if he were to do it, so strong, and then Dave Barrett. Like we've got obviously like George Beardmore's just come in the last 18 months. We've got so many like cross specialists that if we were to all come together for a national, then I think we'd be up there. Yeah. But it's that age-old thing of like, if we get our guys out, then we stand a chance. But like, yeah, it's Gary, I think, was his proudest moment, was the Northern Cross. I think for me, it was like a couple of months later when we went to Redcar, and it was a 12 stage. And the last time we'd been there, I think it was 2 years before, and we had a bad, lots of us had bad days, but like collectively just not, we didn't have a good one. We didn't even medal, we came 4th. And still to this day, the most miserable car ride I've ever been in was Joe Moore's driving. He had a shocker, I had a shocker, and then you had Bobby Schmick, who had like the shocker of all shockers, and then next to him was Pat Henderson, who like won the first BT medal, and just kind of like, these guys, like what's wrong with them? So it was a bit of like a redemption story, and it was the first time where I was like managing the team kind of solo. We got like 3 teams out there, so like an A, B and a C. The B team came 5th. Like they beat Sales A team. I'm not like having a dig, but like I'm not trying to like turn the knife here, but like it was like a dominant like B team performance, and they came within like 2 seconds of becoming like 4th. So that was like a major like demonstration of our strength in depth. And then we'd come second so many times, the A team, to Leeds, that it was just becoming really irritating for someone. Like, I really like to win, like, and I get a little bit funny when I don't, and just to get so close on a couple of occasions and then to be completely blasted on other occasions, I just like the Northern Cross, I thought, like, are we ever going to do it? But we did, and like everyone did so well, like to a man. And like selfishly, there were a couple of selections that I made that like raised some eyebrows that really like came off. So like that was me being like, yes, I can do it. But yeah, it was just a lot of happy guys at the end, and that's kind of, for club running anyway, that's kind of what it's about. Is like, just as like Sean was like looking off into the distance on his tree stump, like on this occasion it was like I could just see how happy everyone was, and that we hadn't won for 9 years, so it was, yeah, it felt like a bit of a moment, to be honest.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's definitely more than an administration task, though. I would say, you and Gary are quite similar in like the way you motivate people to get involved.
There's a bit of that. It is just because I really want to win.
Yeah, that comes across. So.
And it is not necessarily a sickness, but it's just, I could definitely be accused of taking it a little bit seriously at times. But it's only when you're so tantalisingly close to doing it and feeling that, like, oh, if we had this guy available, that there was a lot of that going around, being like, with the nearly men, and just to deliver it in that way and win by a minute, and to have guys have their own personal redemption. Like I mentioned Bobby Schmick in the car, he had an amazing run, like at the latest 12, so he kind of exercised those demons, and it's just a nice little narrative, I guess.
Doesn't sound like it reduces your stress levels, though.
No, it was. But the thing is, it was actually quite a stressful one to watch, because I got us in the lead just, and then we held it, and then I keep mentioning his name, Rich Allen. I'm not obsessed with my competitors, but at least he just had like this unbelievable run, and he like took the lead back, and I'm like, but I thought I'd basically like tempted fate, and I was telling everyone when we're in the lead, we've got this. Like, I've heard they've got this guy on this leg. I was doing the maths. It's like, we've got this. And then suddenly they're like, we're in second place. And I was like, oh no. But then, like, the great thing about that race is like Joe Moores, who again had a bit of a bad one 2 years, just got us back into the lead by like a long way. So all of the guys that you really hoped would have a great run had an awesome run. And it was, proper day. I hope we can repeat it, but I think that one was going to be more significant because just felt like it had been a long time since we'd won.
Yeah, I was in with Duncan for physio the other day, and he made the point that there's a lot of youngsters now old enough to start breaking into that senior team.
Definitely.
So Sam Hopkins in the last 12 months has, he's moved into the senior ranks, and he's already under 14:30 for 5k. And I think he was telling me Jack Marwood's old enough this year as well. So
I've already had a little word with Jack about sixth stage, because he ran like a 15:30 5k at 14 years old.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really done one since, but I don't know if he'll be available, but I think the unsaid thing is that I'll happily take out all of these reps in training if, when I put out the call for 6th stage or 12th stage, you're in, and I will guilt trip to that extent. I want it that bad. They're young men, they're like 16, but I do expect them to turn out for Salford when they can. Just saying.
Okay, Harry, that's all my questions, so I'm going to hand over to Katie, who's got some questions of her own.
Thanks, Dave. Welcome, Harry.
Thanks.
So, what can Salford's men achieve on the road in the 6 and 12 stages going forwards, do you think?
Oh yeah, we can win it. We can definitely win it. I think we've kind of settled on, I think we are a 12-stage club, because I think 6 stage is one of those where like you need like 3 or 4 stars. Like other teams have like Olympians, right? And I'm not saying that to like diminish our chances, but the reality is that the way that we're kind of comprised is that we've got this amazing strength and depth that allows our B team to perform and our C team to perform, and sometimes our D teams to perform as well. But when you go up against that quality of athlete times 3, 6 stage is kind of a little bit off, I think. It could be. I mean, as Dave mentioned, we've got these juniors coming through that, like, when they start peaking, if they all do it at the same time and we get some guys in, it could be that we're competitive over 6. But I think the next step is to try and get on the podium at Northern 6 stage, and that in itself, when you consider that you've got Morpeth, Hallamshire and Leeds, it would be quite difficult. But with the 12, I'm convinced that we can win it in the next, and when I say it, I mean like the national 12, in like 3 years, I think. Would give like the juniors time to bed in, the guys that we're seeing now really hit form. I mean, like Josh Birmingham won the half. He's like a stalwart in our 12 stage team, and he also got a medal he was one of the 6 to count at Northern Cross. But it's like guys like him suddenly taking the next step and becoming like complete. He's an animal already, but like complete animal. So I think that those kind of little pieces need to come together. But I really want us to like win Northern 12 stage as like a fundamental, like that's our expectation now, like Leeds have done recently in recent years. I just think we should be going in thinking we need to defend this, and they will bring stronger teams, but it's kind of letting them know that we will too, and we want that title. So yeah, I think hopefully over the next few years just make that the basis, and then we need to show up nationally a lot better than what we are, but it takes a little bit of time, I guess.
Okay, and just moving back to yourself, we've talked about the distances that you currently run. Do you think that you will ever move up the distance to possibly even marathon running?
It's just a scary word, to be honest.
Seemed to say no before, but
I think that would probably. I don't really think that far ahead, to be honest. And as I said, I've kind of divested all decision making to Ian, where I think the idea for the next couple of years at least is just to really hit the track, and we've kind of got like little things that we're trying to do, like the British records for V35, which I know isn't like a proper veteran class, but it's just trying to do as well over those that we can. And then I think every year he wants me to do a 10k, but the wheels fall off before I get the chance. So hopefully like I can get out of track, not kind of on my knees, take a little bit of a break, and then towards the end of the year do a 10k. Because I know there's like, it doesn't necessarily matter what other people think, but I know there's like doubts as to what I could do over longer distance, because I've basically detrained that and moved into something else. But I'd love to do a marathon, but as I said, I think before, like sometimes watching these things, they just don't sell it at all. Like particularly with like the hot weather and stuff, having to run that hard for that period of time, and like I'm like seeing the pictures of the Salford guys do the Manchester half. Like Callum Rollinson had a great run. Like he looked dead at the end. Like, and it's I can see there's like a lot of like reward in that, and just like obviously having an amazing run, but just thinking what it takes out of you is like.
People say that about like the shorter distance though, don't they?
I know,
Like
it's
you're
just
in a pain cave, like literally from the go, whereas marathon running, it's a bit.
I think that's I said to Juliet Smith when she was on, because she's a track runner, and she said, "Oh, what you do terrifies me." I thought, "What you do terrifies me. I can't imagine anything more terrifying than dying where everyone can see you."
Like that mile, as soon as the gun goes, you've just got to run as fast as you can, literally.
It's so fleeting though, but like the idea of living in that pain cave, you know, on a tarmac road with like the sun just bouncing back up at you. Just sweating and like groaning. That's not for me. Not for me yet, but like hopefully.
So maybe never say never, but not.
Yeah, not in the foreseeable.
Pick your poison, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a question in from James Brown from Bury. He says, "Is your work done with Heaton Park Run, where you obliterated the 10-year plus record, or will you try to get that time down again further?"
It wasn't a very popular act because I took it off a clubmate, like not really meaning to. So that was held by Joe Bailey, who I've got to give him credit because he did it 10 years ago in like flats. Like it was a very like quick time, and I think I did it like last December, coming back off that injury. And I've always gone to like Heaton Park to kind of figure out where I'm at, because it's just one of those courses where like it just does you in, doesn't it? Like. And it's got a bit of everything with the uphill and the downhill and the rollers and stuff. So when I first broke it by just like 1 second, it was when all the Salford guys were like doing like a Christmas park run, like go for like coffee and stuff after. And then I did Armagh after that in the new year, and it was just kind of like on the fly. Ian just said, do a hard session in Heaton Park, and I was like, why don't I just like try and bury myself on the park run and then do the session afterwards? And there's a bit of negotiation where he was like, well, maybe don't bury yourself, maybe like keep a little bit in. And I think, because you're like an honorary member of the Salford training group, I think like earlier that week, we were debating whether, we weren't talking about me doing the park, it just came up, but we were debating whether it's a fast course or not. And a lot of people was like, I can't because it's got a big hill in it. But I was saying like, if you really attack the hill, it can be like a really fast course, because you have a period where you can like recover, and then you've got that great downhill, and then it's quite good running. the hill itself is like obviously a bit of an obstacle. And that's, I think I said in the group, you just got to have like a nice controlled start, then send the hill, and I was explaining it, and then when I eventually did it like 4 days later, like did absolutely none of that and just went so hard at the beginning, but after like 500 meters, I could feel it in my breathing. I'm like, what have you done? This is madness. Like you're gonna die. Like, and then I think it was just one of those days where it was like, and probably people would say you should reserve this for things like Armagh or like peak races and not a park run. But like, I like park run. Like Heaton Park Run was like my first 5k effort. I'm one of those people that call it a race. Like, I know it's unpopular and people are going to be really unhappy about that, but it's like just a fun little race that you can do that's right on your doorstep, and like you don't get nervous about it, you just turn up and you go. And then I sent it, and then I don't think I can do that again because one, Ian will not be happy about it, and two, I actually don't think there's much time in it, because it was one of those where even at the end I was like, that was mad. And I think you've got like these locals, like Andy Butchot's moved to Manchester, so it could be taken by some of these elites.
But for now,
if he's listening, I hope you don't do it.
Yeah.
Just give it to me for another couple of years.
So just sticking with parkrun then, you say you enjoy parkrun. Do you do quite a lot of parkruns, or
not that many, because it's mainly just to see where like I'm at, and like if I've had like a bit of an interruption in the training, it's just it's like halfway between a race and a session, so I prefer to do that than to like, I don't know, go to like a mid-session where you just know it's going to be going out really quick. And so I've just always done it as like an indicator, and I just like the park. Like it's one of my favourite places in Manchester. So.
And James Brown also says, are there any other local parkrun records that you'd like to give a crack?
No, I don't know, because like I've done Stretford. They're all held by my mates, so when I do it, it's like I'm Judas. I know. So like Tom Lancashire's got like Stretford, I think, and then I think those are Salford guys have got. There's so many, I don't even know how many there are.
Who's got Alexandra Shaw? Do you know?
I don't know actually. No.
Because that's quick.
Yeah, that's,
I'll do a bit of research.
A bit of research, yeah.
I don't. I think I'll come in for a bit of stick if I do that. But like maybe that could be like a little retirement. I say retirement. I'm not retiring from anything. I'm like an amateur runner, but like maybe that could be something that I try. I like all the T-shirts they give out for like 50 park runs and stuff. So it might be one of those. I don't know.
How many have you done? Do you know?
Like
Not many.
10 or something. There was like a little write-up by the guy, he's really nice, I can't remember his name, at Heaton Park, where he's like, oh, he's in this really good time, but he hasn't made PB corner because he hasn't done enough park runs. And it was like, oh, never mind.
So what's your goals next, running-wise and as a manager?
I'm a bit boring because I don't actually have like any major races on the horizon. It's always the same every year, where like Ian and I have like a very quick chat every start of the season, and it's just like, what do you want to do? And it's like, I just want to get faster over all of the distances, and that is literally the conversation. Like, we don't even really talk about. He'll have like numbers in his head, but I don't really have any like bearings, so I don't really know what's possible. So the idea, I think, is just to like hit the 800 really hard, and then just go up to 5k. I'll probably be the same as last season, where I have like one shot at like a fast 3k, and then one shot at a fast 5k, and then just move on from there.
And what about as a manager?
It's kind of like we said, like 6 stages next. So I'm not talking us out of it, but I still think would be a bit of a work in progress for that. I think that's in Wigan, isn't it, or somewhere?
Lee Sports Village.
Yeah, but I think we'll do better than last year, and then it's just trying to build a little bit of momentum based on what we've already done this year, and just try and keep that title basically.
Cool. Did you find out?
We did. Yeah. So Thomas Beasley and James McRae have both got joint course record of 1507.
1507.
I'm amazed that it's not quicker than that, given it's probably the quickest parkrun course in Manchester.
Yeah, and I think it's quicker now. They've changed it slightly, the course. I think it's quicker. Yeah. I think for you, I've got many of your credentials.
No, I don't. To be honest, if there's people there, I'm very likely to take myself out and them out. Like, what I quite like about Heaton Park is that it's not that much of a loop. You still get a little bit of an overlap.
Yeah.
But when there's anything like that, I just probably freeze up. But I know James as well, so I can't take it. It's protected.
Just take it off Thomas then.
Yeah.
So what would they do though now the course has changed? Would that record still stand? And
Still stands, doesn't it? Yeah. They do have to make tweaks to courses, don't they? They don't reset the records at Power Under there.
Still the same park, isn't it?
Yeah, but if the course is different,
It's an unusual one because it does go on Power of 10 and everything, doesn't it? But I think the handicap would change possibly. But that's the only thing.
5k and not be a race.
No comment.
Controversial, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's go on to quick fire. So, road or trail?
Trail.
Ooh,
I just think it's fun.
I agree. Morning or evening workout?
Morning. Oh no, for sessions, yeah. Sorry, evening. It's not very quick fire. Sorry.
Never is. Long intervals or tempo runs?
Intervals.
Hill sprints or flat sprints?
Hill sprints.
Recovery runs or rest days?
Recovery runs.
Heart rate zone training or pace-based training?
Pace-based training, I think.
Cross training or focus solely on running?
Focus solely on running.
Competitive mindset or fun and enjoyment?
Yeah, competitive mindset. No surprise there.
No, I knew that was coming.
We could have answered them for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Brilliant. Well, that's all our questions. So thanks for joining us, Harry, and
Thank you very
good
much.
luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Harry. Good luck for the rest of the season.
That's it for this episode. In our next episode, we'll be speaking to a Chorlton runner who has coached lots of athletes to PBs. He has PBs himself of 16:56 for 5k, 34:52 for 10k, 75:55 for the half marathon, and 2:38:32 for the marathon. We'll be speaking to James Moles. So get those questions in for James in the usual ways, and remember, your fastest muscle is your mind.